Hello everybody, it's Shannon. This past summer, I took 3 tests administered by the State Department: the FSOT, which is probably the most well-known test, the Foreign Service Officer test, as well as the CFPT Consular Fellows Program Test, and the IMST, Information Management Specialty Test. It was my first time taking any of these tests, and I passed all 3, alhamdulillah, thankfully. And I wanted to do this video to maybe give you some tips and advice to help you pass as well. You can do it, you got this. Okay, so why did I take all 3 of these tests? They're all for different career tracks. Because the process takes so long anyway, like the hiring process, might as well keep all options open and just try. It's free to take the test anyway. They charge you $5 when you book it, and then they refund it a few weeks later. Let's just go through the test like one by one. I'm going to start with the FSOT. For the FSOT, because it's probably the most popular out of the 3, it's got the most resources available out there. Like, there are study guides and books and other YouTube videos about it. And they even have a practice test on their website. And there's an app, like a Department of State Careers app, that has practice test questions, though those were much harder than the ones on the actual test. Okay, the structure of the FSOT, there are 3 sections. I'm like holding up like 7 fingers. 3 sections. There's English expression, situational judgment, and job knowledge. And job knowledge, to be honest, I think it's kind of an outdated section, because it's like Jeopardy type questions, like trivia stuff. Like, what country in Africa has this? It's just like stuff that you can find on Google, and it really shouldn't be tested. It's like a memorizing thing. It's like, do you know this fact or not? And it's like, are you really going to need that on the job? And if you do need that kind of information on the job, why can't you just Google it? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm in a situation in a remote area with no internet. I need to know what the 2nd largest export of Gambia is. That's just giving you an example. I don't remember the actual questions. I mean, you do sign an NDA, so even if I remember the actual questions, I couldn't say them, but I really don't remember, because they were like just like random kind of trivia stuff. Okay, I'm going to show you my scores. Like, I have no problem with showing you what I got. As you can see, my lowest score was in job knowledge. My highest score was in English expression. And that's kind of things like, grammar, punctuation, reading a sentence, finding what's the error. I mean, I basically teach English and I proofread a lot as part of my job. So that was, that section was maybe easier for me than it was for other people, because I do this all the time. Situational judgment section. That is something that you should study, and when you study it and review your answers, you're going to be able to improve very quickly. The day before my exam, I took a practice test, and I'll show you my scores here. It said I had less than 1% chance of passing the SJ section, and the next day I took it and I passed. So, go figure. What they do is they basically test how you behave in certain scenarios. So here's a situation, and then you answer, what's the best thing to do in the situation? And the next question is, what's the worst thing to do in the situation? So my advice for these ones is just to think of, okay, the best answer is something that's going to move you closer to solving the issue at hand, while also like respecting authority. If somebody's a higher rank, there's just certain things you learn in terms of being polite and things that you just shouldn't do, and keeping your ego in check. Like, if somebody takes credit for something you did, it's like, I mean, just like another thing is just be polite and respectful and respectable. Respect yourself and respect others. The question saying what's the worst thing to do in this scenario is anything that would obviously keep you farther from, or move you farther from solving the problem. Anything that would hinder solving the problem, or something that could make the problem even worse. That's usually the worst answer, or the best answer for the worst thing you can do is do something that would make the problem or situation worse. As I said, I can't remember the individual questions, and if I could, I couldn't say them anyway. So that's all I got for that. And there is an essay on the FSOT. I think you have like 5 minutes to read over the prompts, and there are like 3 different prompts, and yeah, I think it's like 25 minutes to do the essay. There's no spell check or anything, because I think they want to see how you write without the help of spell check. And they don't even look at your essay unless you pass the multiple choice part, right? Okay, moving on to the CFPT, the Consular Fellows Program Test. One thing to note about this program is that you need to speak one of the 4 target languages. So there's Arabic, Mandarin Chinese, Portuguese, or Spanish. As you know, my Spanish is super rusty, olvidé mucho. Estudié en mi colegio, pero olvidé mucho. Obviously, I chose Arabic, if you see my other videos for that. So yeah, you do the application and then you schedule the test, right? For the CFPT, there really wasn't a lot of information online. There was one short PDF that they give you on the website, the State Department website about it, and it's got like some sample questions for each of the sections. Other people on online forums and things, they said study the FSO test prep and you'll be fine, which I pretty much agree with. Except one thing I noticed with the CFPT is I felt really pressed for time. I think the whole test is like 120 minutes, maybe even 90, I think 120 minutes. All right, so CFPT, there are 4 sections. There's the English expression, situational judgment, job knowledge, and a 4th section, which is comprehending regulations, all right? One thing about the CFPT I really didn't like is the way that they structured some of the English expression questions. So for a few questions in that section, you have to categorize the error. Like there's an error in a paragraph, an error in a passage, and you have to categorize the error. So let me give you the example. This is the example that they give you on the website, actually. Okay, so it's question 2. I'm gonna put this up here. You are receiving this pamphlet because you have applied for a non-immigrant visa to work or study temporarily in the United States. Obviously, you can see the error here is that they capitalized the second U, and it shouldn't be capitalized, but it says for line 2 in the passage above, indicate whether there are any errors using the list below. There will only be one error at most on any line. A, misspelled word. B, improper word choice. C, verb tense or agreement. D, punctuation error. E, capitalization error, and F, no errors in line. So there are 6 answers to choose from. This kind of question really threw me because when I see an error, I'm good at saying, okay, it should be X instead of Y, right? But the possible options, they're like improper word choice, verb tense, and for me, the verb tense being wrong, that could also be a misspelling. You know what I mean? It could have been more, it was just ambiguous in that sense. Like I knew what the right answer was, but why should you have to categorize the error? Like I care about whether or not the person knows the right answer and how to fix it. I don't care about you if I have a problem. Look at the work situation. There's a problem with something. I care that you can solve it. Give me what it should be. I don't care so much about you being able to categorize the cause of this problem. You could argue, oh, well, if you know the cause of the problem, you know how to prevent it in future. And I'm like, yeah, but verb tense and agreement versus improper word, I don't know. It's just how much anyway. So like I said, something could be misspelled, but also be the wrong tense at the same time. And these questions, I don't think they're very useful. It seems like for this example, it's pretty cut and dry. It looks like a capitalization error. One more thing regarding the English expression in the CFPT. I was panicking at one point and I had to go back and redo some answers because there were some questions where there were there were numbers for each line and then things were underlined and you had to say look at the line corresponding to the question and say where the error was, or something like that. Yeah, so all the lines are part of a passage. So you also look at the line below if the sentence is not complete at the end of that line. What do I have here? I just remember, I realized this a few questions in and I had to go back and fix some answers. And that'll really make you panic because I think it's 50 questions in 18 minutes, something crazy like that. And there's a thing saying, oh, you might not finish in time, that's okay. And I'm a native English speaker. I mean, think of people taking this test. A lot of them, maybe they're native Arabic or Chinese or Spanish or Portuguese speakers. They're doing this test too. Think of how panicked they would be. So I can't even imagine. Situational judgment. Again, this one was similar to the one on the FSOT. That's all I have to say about that. When I walked out of the testing room, they gave me a paper. I thought it was just a receipt that I took the test, just like with the FSO. They just gave me a receipt. Okay, you took the test and you'll get the scores soon or whatever. The paper, I looked down, it said congratulations, and I was shocked. Because, when I walked out of the FSOT, I remember I called my friend, or I messaged my friend, and I was like, yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if I failed it. He was consoling me. He's like, oh, well, you can always take it again next year, whatever. And then I found that I passed, and I was shocked. And so this one, I think the CFPT, that one, even more so, I felt okay, I was shocked that I passed, but grateful, Okay, last one. A couple months later, I took the IMST, Information Management Specialty Test. I figured why not? I'm on a roll here. For this one, again, I couldn't find any information Not even sample PDF questions like for the CFPT. For the IMST, there was literally nothing online about it. When I got there, I found out, okay, I think it was about 120 minutes or 90 minutes, similar to the CFPT in terms of time. But this one had only 3 sections. There's job knowledge, English expression, situational judgment, okay? Just like with the FSO, except no essay. The job knowledge questions, that was probably the hardest section for me on the IMST because I didn't formally study IT, like information management. It's like, yeah, like relating to computer stuff, tech stuff. All of my IT knowledge is really self-taught. I mean, I'm a millennial, so some things were common sense. And if you're computer savvy and if you don't know how to like, okay, when you have an error, like do you go to Google and check it out and try to figure out the problem yourself, or do you call tech support right away? And eventually, if I can't find anything, then I'll give up and call tech support. But I feel like if you're somebody who, yeah, you have like a basic IT knowledge, you should be fine. English expression, that section was okay. It wasn't as weird as the question on the CFPT. Like the English expression questions for IMST were more like the ones in the FSOT. Situational judgment, that section also was fine. Like if you study the practice ones, you can pass that. And those 2 sections, the English expression and situational judgment, they were very much like the FSOT sections, but just shorter. And again, when I left the IMST, I really wasn't sure because like, as I said, the job knowledge questions, there were like quite a few I felt like I really didn't know, I had to guess on. But again, like this is the IMST one, where it said, congratulations, you passed, and I was shocked. The best feeling was when I went down the elevators and the security guard guy, he was like, how'd you do? And I was like, I passed. And he was like, yeah, and he was cheering. He's like, woo! Like, and that like totally made my day. All right, guys, that's it. Hopefully I covered everything. And hopefully if you're taking one of these tests soon, hopefully this helps you. You got this. You'll pass on your first try. I believe in you. If you have any questions, comments, put them down below. I'll answer them ASAP. And thanks for watching. See you next time.